Welcome back to another video. Today, like I said in my last video, if you haven't seen it, go see it because I talk about what we're going to do today. Today, we're finally going to be mixing with the soft tube faders. And basically what I'm going to do, helping this friend produce his album, he brought in this song, brought in these productions that I'm helping him finish. I need to balance the track because I need to send it to him so he can write to it. Beat wasn't hitting hard, wasn't arranged and stuff like that. So I did all that in the background. Today we're going to use the SSL 4KG just because it's the hottest channel strip right now. We're going to take advantage of those preamps. All right, so the first thing I like to do personally, sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. It's 10 o'clock at night. The World Series is on. It's the first game. I like to crack open a beer. I don't like to get too turned. I like to sip on it. If you're not 21 yet, definitely don't do that. But otherwise, yeah, just like to kind of relax. You can see I got the lights and stuff down. Got my headphones on, mixing in my apartment right now. That's the first thing I like to do. I like to get my drinks, coffee, if it's in the morning or at night. For me, it's a glass of water and a nice cold beer. So that's step number one. But anyways, let's jump into Pro Tools. All right, so we're in Pro Tools right now. I'm off the camera a little bit, you know what I'm saying, because I got my faders to the right over here, which I do think is a good thing. I think having the faders in front of you is fine. I don't know, I just think having your faders not in front of the screen is definitely beneficial, like mentally and stuff like that. That's just my opinion, though. It's definitely not a make or break. It's kind of personal preference at that point, but that's just my 2 cents on it. So yeah, basically we're in Pro Tools right now, obviously. So let's pull up the channel strip. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we have all our tracks grouped. I have the song grouped in this case. I like to do that just so I can quickly bring down the faders, bring them up. Once I get my balance and stuff going, if it's hitting too hot or not hot enough, I can go ahead and take that static mix and kind of just bring it up or whatever if I do like where the balance is at. But in this case, because we're in group mode, theoretically, we should be able to hopefully see that we are moving the preamp in all of these. Whatever, you know what I'm trying to say. So basically, before you throw any plugins in, if you don't know this already, you can make a group with your tracks, select all your tracks, make your group. Once your group window comes up, just make sure that you check off the attributes for each insert slot. So anytime you control one of those plugins, in whatever parameter that is in that plugin, in this case the preamp, long as I have the same plugins obviously on each track and they're all in that same group, anytime I raise any parameter, lower any parameter, change any parameter, they'll be affected across all the plugins essentially. So knowing that, also make sure that you turn the groups off once you have something that you like, because it's happened many a times where I forget to turn the group off and I'm adjusting like a kick at 80 hertz and it's adding it to the snare, to the guitar, whatever the case is. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Just, make sure that you turn your groups on and off when you don't need them or when you do need them. But in this case, we do want it on because I want to add, I like to add 20, let's just do like 20 dB. Let's do 20. You know what? Let's just do like 15, just in case we're running a little hot. Make sure we're adding 15 dB of gain, and then make sure we're also turning the preamp on. I always do this with my plugins just to get a little bit more saturation out of them, knowing that if I have a channel strip, like in this case the SSL, and they're, hyping up this preamp and stuff, so why not use it? You know what I mean? So in this case, if we're trying to get more analog saturation, analog sound out of these plugins, might as well use the preamp that's built into it. So in this case, we're gonna add 15 dB of preamp just to kind of give it a little bit more, saturation, a little bit more distortion. Not too much because it's only 15, but just to kind of add a little bit of flavor from that channel strip to our signal. So if we flip through each of these, you can see, hopefully kind of skip around, you can see that 15 dB of the preamp has been added. So that's step number one. Step number two, let's just play the song and kind of get a sense of, what the song sounds like and what we're messing with. No vocals in this song because, like I said, the lyrics haven't really been written yet. So that's the whole point of this video, is to kind of get a balance for this production so I can send it off to the artist and hopefully he can come up with some lyrics to it. So let me go ahead and hit play. A little, background before I hit play too. It is more of like a Greek style kind of track. So a lot of like flute, a lot of like string kind of acoustic guitars. You'll hear it kind of sound. So not your typical pop song, not your typical, what we're used to for like some sort of dance song or whatever, but it is in that Greek world, and that's kind of what he's going for. He is a Greek artist. So let me hit play just so we can get a sense of where we're at. So you can hear arpeggiators, synthesizers. It's kind of cool to be introduced into something that I'm not familiar with and kind of seeing like where his headspace is and stuff. But anyways, you can hear it's definitely not like the best balance, not the worst, but I feel like we can get a little bit more clarity out of certain instruments, kind of make those drums hit and stuff like that. So yeah, let's get to work and let's get a balance. So the first thing, because we're still in group mode, hopefully if I hit solo on my controller, that solos up all the tracks. What we're going to do, because we're in solo, I can just take this one fader and bring everything down. Then I'm going to unsolo. I'm going to do Shift Command G to take my tracks out of group mode. So if I hit solo, now you can see we are latching individually like Pro Tools usually behaves. So yeah, let me hit play and let's just start bringing up some faders and kind of go through my process and how I implement faders into, when I'm mixing, balancing tracks, whatever the case is. So in this case, if I do shift and page over on my specific controller, the Softtube MK3 faders, you can see that we are individually going by track basis. If I let go of the shift and just hit page, it'll just go by banks. If I had more tracks, obviously it would be banking over a lot more, but I don't have that many. So in this case, let's make sure we get click track out of there, and we can see click track is number 1 right there. And let me hit play and let's get it going. So yeah, the first thing I have to do, just kind of get a general balance on everything, hear all the instruments that are playing and stuff like that. Oh yeah, another thing, beer clock. We gotta get the beer. All right. Nothing there. Got some toms. You can see some hi-hat playing right here. Let's see, where's that bass at? There it is. Let's get the other hi-hat. I know there's another hi-hat playing. Maybe not. Oh, there it is. So we can hear, we have a bass, we have a sub, so we gotta make sure we balance that together. Obviously, we would use some EQ and compression and stuff like that to kind of get them to gel a little bit better together, but like I said, in this case, we're just getting a balance. Is that a guitar? I guess it is. What's this? Oh yeah, arpeggiator. All right, so definitely turn down the instruments. Like I said, we're just kind of, just going through, making sure we're hearing all the instruments that need to be played and stuff like that. And yeah, that's the whole point. It's not the final mix yet, just getting all the sounds in. I don't know if this clap ever plays in this section. So it seems like all the instruments that play in this section are up right now. Obviously, some faders are down because those sounds don't come in on this part of the song, which in this case would be the chorus, the hook. Yeah, so that's just a rough balance. That's literally what I do. I mean, obviously, I'd be working a lot quicker if I had more tracks and stuff like that. But for the most part, that's just me getting a balance, making sure, like, okay, what kind of sounds do we have? What do we need to focus on? Obviously, if there was a rough, we'd be comparing to the rough, especially if the artist is tied to the rough, and the producer. We need to make sure that all the sounds are there and, we're hearing all the sounds that they want to hear as, the sounds to be the main picture, you know what I'm saying? But right now we're just kind of, hearing all the ingredients, hearing all the spices and stuff. But the next thing I would do after that, like, I feel like, okay, cool, I hear what's going on in the song. I hear all the sounds. I literally just want to focus on certain sounds. In this case, it would be the drums, the bass, and I think we had an agreement that the synths would be kind of more up front and the guitar that he played. So those are going to be like the four instruments that we're going to be focused on, making sure that we're getting a good balance on those four instruments, and then use everything else to kind of, fill in those spots and, yeah, just fill in and use those as like the salt and pepper, pretty much, if that makes sense. If it was a full song, obviously it'd be like vocals, drums, bass, in my opinion, and then whatever the main element of the track is going to be as far as production wise, those would be like the things that I would focus on. And honestly, like 80, maybe 90% of the time, I'm only listening to those until I feel like, okay, the song sounds pretty damn good with just these sounds. Let me go ahead and sprinkle in, all the hi-hats, the production, stuff like that. So anyways, hopefully that's making sense. So let's hit play. Let me focus on the drums, bass, and some of those synthesizers. Where is... Never mind. Where's... I was like, why do I have you guys so... Such a cool synth. Okay. pan this kind of awkward. That's another thing too with panning. It's just kind of finding the spots that aren't awkward. That's why sometimes panning hard and left can be weird, but if you do it right, it'll be fine. Like this could even be cool if you did this. Just to kind of make room for other things. You know, one's a little bit heavier on the bass, so it sounds a little bit harder. It sounds a little bit louder. But maybe that gives space for this guy. Alright, let's see what these guitars are talking about. Actually, bass. Get this. That's that sub. I mean, you know, for what it is, I feel pretty good with the balance in this section. Let's go ahead and jump to like this little couple bars before the chorus comes in to get the rest of those sounds in. I don't know if this is in. These claps. Stick out. Oh, the stick is right here. Okay. And then where's this other stick? Oh, I see. Just right there. I forgot we added this. So that would be that. I think it's just the intro, literally. Alright. Cool, cool. It looks like we're missing the second hi-hat. Which is not there. It's right here. So one's kind of like a little shaker. Maybe this one stays, and then this one we will push off to the side a little bit. Oops. Oh, I didn't even know I could do that. I could shift through like this. All right, just found a new way to shift shift through tracks on air, whatever you want to call it. Let me do it like, let's just do like a 50-60. We'll do that. You know, just to kind of give some room and stuff for other stuff. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. It says pan select. Cool. And that's it. Looks like we have everything in right now. Let me go ahead and do this. Let's put this back in group mode. So now if I do that, let's see what the difference of the preamp made. So now that we have our balance, let me play it without it and see if there is a difference. Maybe we need to crank the preamp a little bit more. Yeah, let's hear. Yeah, you know, it's just you can definitely hear that it's just a little bit more obviously forward in like the mid range a little bit. I always think typically saturation can do that to stuff. Just it always brings out that mid range in my opinion. And it sounds like that's kind of what's happening pretty much, and especially you know, bringing up the reverb and stuff that's around the hi hats or any of the samples and stuff that have any kind of natural reverb that's occurring. It's kind of just bringing up that room around those samples, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think it's making a little bit of difference. You know what I'm saying? Nothing too crazy, not too saturated, not too, you know, not saturated enough, I guess, if that makes sense. Another thing too that I guess, you know, I could mention, which I think is pretty obvious, is like, you know, making sure that you're naming all your tracks and stuff like that. Color coding if you're that far into the mix or whatever the case is. And another thing too, just for the video sake, I mean, you can see down here I have my ozone. My camera might be in the way, but I have my ozone and stuff. Nothing is set on. You can see no EQ. The only thing I do is have a little bit of imaging going on, but not enough to blow your head off, if that makes sense. And then the other thing too is that I have been mixing into this preamp. This is a preamp by Acoustica Audio, just something I like, very console or 2B sounding in my opinion. If you've been here before, you know that definitely mentioned this plenty of times in my mixing videos. And just for the sake of like checking, let's just see where our meters are at, because maybe we need to bring our mix down. Okay. And let's check our Pro Tools meter. So yeah, I feel like honestly we have plenty of headroom. You know, the song isn't done. Obviously, we don't have vocals. This isn't being sent off for mastering and stuff like that. This isn't the final mix. It's just production and stuff like that. But for what it is, definitely have plenty of room, you know, to make it as loud as possible, if we need to do that for whatever reason. But it is always good to obviously just keep checking your headroom or just have some sort of spot. I wouldn't say a certain number because depending on the elements, the amount of stuff you have in a track, it's all going to vary. So I always, you know, try to tell people not to pick a number and do that. Just kind of go off your meter, understand your meters, and just work that way. I don't know. That's the way I think makes sense of working. And another thing too is obviously I can't see on camera, but making sure that you have your listening environment set at a certain level. In this case, I am mixing in headphones, so I'm used to my interface, and for something that's loud enough for me or when I'm comparing or listening to music in general, I know that a good healthy master or listening you know, volume for me is about halfway on my Avid Carbon. Like I said, it's going to vary on your interface and stuff, but that's another thing too, is just kind of setting your gain for your speakers or headphones if you're mixing in them, and just making sure that you're not listening too loud but not too low, just at the right volume. And then obviously when you listen to music and stuff, just make sure you also try your best to listen to things at that volume, just so you get used to it and you're like, oh, that might be a little too high, that might be a little too low, and you'll find yourself kind of always listening or even mixing, or mixing but even listening, I should say, at a certain volume once you get used to it. So those are another thing, you know, keep those things in mind before you start mixing too. Is just have everything ready. Like I said, got my beer ready, got my headphones set. Everything is named and labeled and stuff like that to enough for me to kind of move around the session and stuff, as you can see. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I know it's super quick. Didn't go into too much, detail because this isn't like a full mix. Otherwise, I would have like a bus compressor and stuff like that set up if this is a full mix. But I do have some songs that I want to mix. So, if you do like this style of content or video or whatever, let me know and I'll actually do a full mix on just got to get permission from the artist, but I can do a full mix on video. And then also let me know, did you like this setup? Should I only do the soft tube console? Do you even care about seeing this? Maybe or like should I edit it into the video in certain spots when it makes sense? Or should it just be all in Pro Tools like it usually is? And then do you even want me on the camera? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let me know in the comments below. Hopefully this video should come out Saturday. I tried to get it out Friday, but just had a lot of stuff to do, so didn't do that. But anyways, if you see this, I appreciate you being here. Use my affiliate links: Safari Pedals, Sound ID, Z Sounds, Waves Code. Also PSP Audio. I have a code that's exclusively for YouTube viewers or whatever, so can't get it anywhere else. And yeah, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. I'll see you Monday for Plug-in Monday. Still trying to keep up with those. If you haven't seen any of my vlogs, which I know a lot of people aren't here for, I try to keep the music related and stuff too, obviously. The last one definitely was. I was in the studio a lot more. I was in the studio twice in that vlog, and I talked about this upcoming video. So if you haven't seen that, go show those videos some love and stuff like that. Get a little personal on there and stuff. Get to know more about me and, like to know who's viewing my stuff and all that stuff or whatever. But anyways, yeah, like, share, subscribe, and hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.